Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Azeroth Daily for the 5th of May 2011. My name is TotalBiscuit, bringing you your daily dose of WoW news and comments. In the headlines today, patch 4.2 has gone live on the PTR in some forms. It doesn't have the raid content available as of yet, so we expect an awful lot more in terms of PTR development over the next month or so. However, there are some Datamined models coming out right here, some amazing, and I do mean incredible looking mounts available now from PvP. And these are tied into the get 100 wins and get 300 wins rated Battleground achievement, the Warbound Veterans and the Veterans. So you've got the Wolf and you've got the Alliance Charger there, both looking exceptional, and the texture work on those is second to none as far as I can see. Excellent stuff, and you can go check out the models in nice high detail over on MMO Champion. A lot of this news is going to be from MMO Champion. This shouldn't surprise you. This would be the premier source for Datamined content. And we've got another one right here, which shows a Datamined loot list. This is, of course, only partial from the Firelands, as well as another picture of Ragnaros. And Ragnaros apparently no longer looks dumb. And I don't know, it's still got legs, so I'm not entirely convinced by that. Make up your own minds. Also, they've managed to datamine the Tier 12 set bonuses, which look to be quite nice indeed, and those are worth checking out. Bear in mind, of course, all of this is subject to change. Now, the Arena Pass, once again, is open for business. This is the 2011 Arena Pass, and it is the large arena tournament on the tournament realm, which gives you access to the Armored Murloc pet, as well as a Vanquisher title. So you can go and get that sorted out. It does cost quite a lot of money, however. It's €15, £12, or $20. Or if you happen to be in the regions of Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau, you have to pay 450 NT dollars, which I've never heard of before, but there you go. I'm sure you guys know what that actually means. Now, if I recall correctly, the last Arena Pass had a chance to win a ton of really great prizes, although I'm not seeing anything of the sort this time around, so I have no idea. Just keep an eye on things, and they'll no doubt update it with some prizes and things like that. I certainly hope so. If you're going to pay $20 for a tournament, then damn well better be a prize that is beyond a Vanquisher title and an Armored Murloc pet, which, as far as I'm aware, is available to pretty much everybody that actually goes through this thing anyway. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't pay $20 for a pet that a lot of other people actually have. Some good news for those of you looking for rated battlegrounds. You can now do rated battlegrounds against the same faction. It's really as simple as that. And what that means is they've effectively doubled the matchmaking pool, which is a very nice thing indeed, and I'm sure that everyone will be happy for that. I would be. I don't see what's wrong with that, so there you go. Latest round of hotfixes is out, ladies and gentlemen, for patch 4.1. This covers May the 3rd through to May the 4th, and an issue which was preventing some players from properly mailing account-bound items to other characters has now been resolved, so any of you that have had problems with that, and also if you've recently transferred faction and you weren't able to do the children's quests, then that's all sorted out, so you can hopefully get those done in the next couple of days before the end of Children's Week on May the 7th. You can go check out the full list in the description below this video. And with that, it's time for your Daily Blues. Slorkers has announced that they are splitting the PvP forums into Arena and Rated Battlegrounds and Battlegrounds and World PvP. So I think one of those might be a little bit more popular than the other. Can you guess which? But they have been split in two. I really don't know why they've split it that way. Personally, I would have split up Arena and Battlegrounds because they don't seem to really mesh together all that well. But hey, there you go. There's the split for you. And that should hopefully make them a little bit easier to read. Rafty asks whether or not you can change the conquest point gains again. A pro tip, this is not the way to get them to change the conquest point gains. It's not. If you're going to come in there with a condescending attitude, then you're just going to end up with a terrible response. And Slorkers responds by saying that players who want the conquest points and are choosing to engage in arena play in order to get the points are not playing against their will. They are undertaking the means that will lead them to that goal. Playing this game is a choice. Engaging in various paths of character progression is a choice. Nobody is being held at gunpoint or being forced to play under duress. This is why dumb posts like this annoy me. Slorkers has said nothing wrong there. It's the OP. Because the OP starts up with these ridiculous conspiracy theories like, oh, you're forcing us to do this, blah, blah, blah. So, for God's sake, please stop representing the community in any form. You make us all look like idiots by saying things like that. Why can you not be reasonable? This is the thing. When you give Blues an excuse to deal with a dumb argument, they will spend the majority of their posts talking about that, not about the actual problem. It's a very, very handy excuse. Slorkus does say at the end, you may or may not agree with the amount of points gained per win or the time required per week. However, using statements like the one above does not serve to validate your point. And you're exactly damn right, Slorkus. It does not. Can someone please be reasonable for a change? That would be wonderful. Well, you don't get anything changed by being an insipid little twerp on the forums. Selkitnet posts a fairly lengthy post in regards to where the players actually stand in terms of the context of the lore, which is an intriguing idea and something that hasn't really been addressed all that much, and it's kind of difficult to address, honestly, because of the way that instances work, and there's plenty of lore-breaking stuff within the game in that regard. Daxari responds by, well, barely responding, honestly. I don't blame him. There is no way to explain this. There is a certain amount of suspension of disbelief required. For instance, the point that the OP made that the guards are as powerful as the heroes, so why aren't the guards out fighting those particular battles? Yeah, that's really difficult to swallow. But I think what it comes down to is it is just a video game, and you do have to accept that there will be certain creative license taken with the way that the game actually works. I mean, it doesn't, for instance, make any sense that you go in and kill, say, Arthas, and then come back and kill Arthas again and again and again, and this time on harder difficulty with extra loot. And yeah, there's all sorts of things within the game that are difficult to swallow in that regard. I just suggest that people try and ignore them as best they can. This actually is why I don't pay much attention to the lore. It makes ignoring that much, much easier. Tapissa Rogue asks, when will Blizzard fix the Horde Alliance PvP balance? Because according to MMO Champion, Horde won a whopping 10% more last year, and from my experience and others on the Alliance, I know those numbers have only gone up. Right, so the first mistake is saying that your anecdotal evidence somehow is as good as a year's worth of gathered statistics. It is not. No, it is not. Out of the past 10 BGs, I've won 1. Ah, excellent. Right, so that's how we're going to do evidence. In this case, I have this rock right here. It keeps tigers away. Do you see any tigers around here? No. Would you like to buy this rock? I'm sure you would. Now, the response comes in from Zahim. And he points out that, 1, the statistics are from a third-party site, and as such are not necessarily accurate. And secondly, he asks what distinct design imbalances exist between the two factions that would cause this. And he then goes on to point out that it might come down to player preference. More PvP-orientated players perhaps tend to roll Horde, and there is really nothing that people can do about that. Well, I'd like to point out to Zahim that, of course, the reason that we win 10% more battlegrounds than the Alliance is because we have the Troll race, which is the superior race, and therefore you should perhaps give the Alliance Trolls. In fact, just replace the entire Alliance with Trolls. Get rid of all those races. Nobody wants them anyway. Who the hell's going to roll a Gnome, a Night Elf, a Human? Don't be ridiculous. Just replace them all with different brands of Trolls. There are plenty of different kinds of Trolls. There's the Snow Trolls, there's the Rock Trolls, there's the Jungle Trolls, there's all of the different empires of Troll, there's big Trolls, small Trolls, green Trolls, blue Trolls. So many Trolls! Do it. But more to the point, no, that imbalance does not exist. Go away. There's nothing you can do to actually fix that. And with that, it's time for your daily grind. It is the end, ladies and gentlemen, for JJ Kishin. A very sad end to this particular quest, as upon defeating the final characters in this particular battle, a giant dragon comes down, a huge battle ensues, and JJ Kishin sacrifices his life for the glory of the Alliance, or some such nonsense. Whatever the case, an epic end to an epic quest, and a wonderful blue item for you at the end of this one. And that brings us to the end of the one and only JJ Kishin line in the Red Ridge Mountains, and I would highly recommend that you go and do that quest line, because it is damn good. And with that, it's time for your weekly feature. This is Mod Your WoW. As usual, we're going to be taking a look at 3 mods today, and the download links for all of these mods are in the description below this video. The first one we're going to be looking at goes by the name of Loremaster. Now, this is quite similar to Quest Completionist, however, it's got one specific goal in mind. Its goal is to get you all of the Loremaster achievements. So, the way that it does this is by listing all of the quests that actually matter for the Loremaster, and showing you which that you have, and which that you don't have. This add-on really comes into its own when you also install Lightheaded and TomTom. If you have TomTom installed, it will point you directly to the next quest. Whichever quest you select on the list, it'll give you a waypoint arrow, it'll show you exactly where it is. And with Lightheaded, what you can do is pull data from Wowhead, which includes comments as well as useful information about the quest. So, to be fair, this is the kind of questing add-on that I think would be useful for an awful lot of people. It's a really nice add-on with a great interface and 0 configuration required once you have all 3 of those add-ons installed. So I would highly recommend that you get a hold of it. There is really no reason not to. Second add-on I have on my list for a look at today goes by the name of Daily To-Dos, and this is a tracking module which will allow you to keep an eye on exactly what you should be doing on a day-to-day basis. It allows you to list the things that you find most important, including daily reputation grinds, as well as daily fishing and cooking quests, and of course daily dungeons, and any reputation quests that you do have are also tracked in the tracker module, and you can see exactly how much reputation you have with that faction at a glance. It's a nice and useful add-on with a fairly minimal overhead, although what I would say is that at the moment it seems to be a little bit buggy. I don't know whether or not that's to do with the latest patch or some kind of conflict in my UI. All of these are a possibility, but keep in mind that it's very likely those bugs will be fixed very soon if they are associated with the patch. So just keep an eye on Curse for any updates, and of course if you do use the Curse download manager, then you won't have to worry about such things. And last but by no means least, this add-on should be very useful for those of you just starting WoW, maybe playing an alt for a first time, or who are even considering starting to play WoW. It's called Where To Next, and this is a very simple minimap add-on which shows you exactly where you should be questing and where you should be doing your dungeoning, and it will rank those zones based on how appropriate they happen to be for your level, as well as the dungeons, and you can see them ranked by color, and the orange ones, as you might imagine, are the harder ones based on your level. So that's really useful for newbies or people that are simply unsure as to where they should go next, and all of those are available for download in the description below this video from curse.com. And with that, it's time for the mailbox. This one comes in from Hammerfest. It says, "Hey TotalBiscuit, after watching As Daily today," I assume that was yesterday, "it occurred to me that StarCraft 2 has tutorial missions and challenges to help its players play more effectively, or at least get their feet wet when it comes to advanced play. Something like this could be implemented within WoW. For example, a prospective tank could do a tutorial instance where he tanks bosses and mobs while NPCs DPS down said mobs or boss. Each encounter or tutorial could have objectives that include interrupting a boss's casts or tanking multiple mobs. These tutorials and challenges could even be something required to be done before a prospective tank can even get into an instance or perhaps into a heroic. Do you think that something like this would work for improving pugs and players in general? I think that it absolutely should be in the game. I don't know whether it should be mandatory, but I definitely think it should be in the game. What I would say is that give it sufficient rewards and integrate it into the leveling experience so that it makes sense, and perhaps so that it's staggered as well. You know how StarCraft 2 has 3 sets of challenges and they get progressively harder? Well, kind of do that with WoW, but spread it across those levels so that by you get to, say, level 30, you know the very basics of tanking, about aggro management and things, and by the time you get to 60, you know, more advanced techniques and things like that. Yeah, absolutely, this stuff should be in. This has got to be part of the leveling experience. If it's not, you will get more and more and more bad players. Please bear in mind that while there are a significant chunk of players that have no intention of getting better, there are loads more that do want to, and they are not willingly bad, and they are not willfully bad, more to the point. They are simply ignorant of how the game is supposed to be played because the game never taught them how to play. Therein lies the problem. Any of you that's actually played StarCraft 2, those challenges are very, very useful indeed and do teach you a wide variety of things. For instance, well, there's probably a few that I should learn myself, including the fact that there is a challenge whereby you can only use your hotkeys to do stuff, which is of course a vital skill in multiplayer. Yeah, bring on the challenges, bring on something like that. Tie in gold, rewards, achievements, things like that. Hell, how about instead of charging people for a mount, for instance, at level 20, then you give them a quest and they can earn a special mount and the mount skill in the process. That's something to think about, and have that quest tied into a challenge where they've got to do certain things in order to earn it. There's all manner of ways to integrate fun, enjoyable, and challenging content into the game that will actually teach people not to suck. That's what they need to do, and they need to stop giving in to people that claim otherwise. This one comes in from the Guildmaster Avaliable and his officers, and says, "First, I'd like to say that I enjoy your show and keep up the good work. I'm a GM of a small guild that focuses on 10-man raiding content. The guild has been raiding every weekend since February, and we're now one boss away from getting to the final boss in each raid. The co-GM and I have been discussing for a few weeks on extending a raid lockout in Blackwing Descent. After talking to the officers and casually bringing it up in chat, we finally decided last week that we are going to extend the lockout. The choice was made because we felt that since we can get Andromedes down, we can focus on getting Nefarian down the next week. We announced this to the guild, and 2 of our 10 raid members were arguing that we still had raid members that needed gear, and they wanted the Valor points. The guild has been raiding since early Feb, and 9 out of 10 raid members are gearing off specs if they have one. All the loot we've been getting has just been disenchanted. We offered to set up a raid during the week, so those who wanted to get the first 4 bosses down in BWD could, and they'd get their chances at loot, since the only person being saved to the lockout would be me. Since they still argued with us about it, we finally decided to forget it and attempt the bosses again the following week. Could you possibly give your opinions on raid lockouts and the fairness of willing to give up items and points for a chance of progression? Thanks so much for the time and thoughts. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's a trade-off. Gear and items are a means to an end. This is what raiders have to understand. This is why I find the idea that 2 of your raid members say, oh, we don't have all the items we want yet, to be puzzling. You get items for completing raids, and for beating bosses in raids. That's the point. Items are rewards for doing the content. Now, in reality, if you bring down an end of instance boss, not only do you unlock the hard mode so you gain access to even better loot, but the boss has better loot on it anyway. The end dungeon boss has great loot. That's where the most desirable items tend to come from. I don't see why you wouldn't want that. The problem is, I think some people pursue this for the sole purposes of getting epics, and I don't think that that's a very healthy way to play. Certainly it's their choice to raid that way, but what they have to understand is even if they think that way, in the long run, it's going to be beneficial to them anyway, because they unlock the hard modes, because they get the end of dungeon boss down, so then they are able to gain access to some amazing loot, some incredible stuff, some of the best in the game. I don't see why a raider would turn that one down. I do understand that excessive lockout extension can become a problem, but it doesn't sound like you guys are doing that. You've been raiding since early Feb, and you're at the end of dungeon bosses. You should be able to do that without having to sacrifice too many items. Now, it does kind of suck that you have to sacrifice items to begin with. Unfortunately, that's just the way that the system works. And I think those that don't raid as much have to accept that there is going to be a penalty for using a system like Raid Lockout, and that you do have to dedicate a certain number of hours to raiding each week if you do want to be on top of things. I'm going to probably run into the same problem. I don't have a lot of time. I've finally now gotten to 85. Yes, it has happened. As you probably noticed there in the background, my character has changed just a little bit. Don't even get me started on that mask. I know it's got spirit on it. I don't care. You want to know how long I've been after that mask? 5 years. 5 years. That's how long I've been trying to get that mask. And I've never got it. And today, you know what? As soon as I hit 85, my first Solgarob run, what drops? That drops. So that is mine. I do not care if it's got spirit on it. I reforged it and it looks amazing. It's either that or I'm going to wear the ruby monocle, and that doesn't have any stats on it. Okay, I think I'm getting besides the point here. Whatever the case, I'm probably going to be in a situation where I won't have time to do mega raiding either, so I'll probably have to use Raid Lockout extension. I accept that since I'm not spending all that much time in the game, that there are certain things that I cannot attain. I'm alright with that. Okay, folks, that's me done for the day. Thank you very much for watching Azeroth Daily today. Please do not forget to vote it up. That's clicking the thumbs up button if you happen to like this video. It's very much appreciated. Now, 4.2 content is a priority. The raid content is not available yet. I do have the PTR client down. I did go on the servers. I noticed that it seems the Hydrall questing content is there, so I'm going to go and do that. So the next couple of days, you can expect to see video coverage of that. And once the raid content is available, I will be there, and I will be doing it with gusto, folks. My name is TotalBiscuit. I will see you next time.